This is Pastor Tello from Tellogram. Today I want to talk to you about change. The other day I was at Sabbath school and we were discussing the book of Job. And we understood something in the book of Job that perhaps we didn't think about before, and that is the implications of Hebrew thought. You see, for the Hebrews, they understood that the narratives of the Old Testament told a story, but not only told a story, but taught theology. Now, granted, the theology found in the narratives of the Old Testament aren't as clear-cut and systematic that you find in the New Testament. Nevertheless, the theology is all over the place. So in the book of Job, we ask the question, what is the theology that's being taught by Job and his four friends that are trying to comfort Job? And the whole idea was the theology of God. You see, for Job, he was asking God to change his situation and his circumstance. And one can even argue that Job was actually mad and angry because God wasn't changing his circumstance and he wasn't changing his situation. But what if the answer to Job's conundrum has nothing to do with changing the circumstance and the situation, but changing the meaning of the circumstance and situation? What do I mean? In the book of Isaiah chapter 7, the Bible tells us a story about a king called Ahaz. And this king has a monumental problem. He has two nations that are going against him, and these two nations that are battling against his nation, the Israelites, he is absolutely frenzied as to what to do. Isaiah is sent by God to give a message unto Ahaz. And here is a message in the midst of all of his problem, in the midst of all of his situation. Here is the message that Isaiah gave to Ahaz the king. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign, says Isaiah to Ahaz. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. That was it. That was the message. That was the sign that God gave to Ahaz in the midst of his situation, in the midst of his circumstance. He said to Ahaz, Emmanuel, which is translated in Hebrew, God with us. Well, what does that mean? That means simply this. Did you catch that? It means simply this. Your circumstances and your situation may not change, but the meaning of the circumstance and the meaning of your situation drastically changes when you believe the sign of God, which says, Emmanuel, God with us. Incidentally, you find in the New Testament, in the book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 23, a very interesting thought. It says here, Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name, you guessed it, Emmanuel, which being translated is God with us. Over and over and over again, you have this idea, you have this concept of God being with us, God being with his children. Jesus himself says, Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. I don't know about you, but many times I've been angry with God. I've spewed vitriolic words against God and said, God, why don't you change my circumstance? Why don't you change my situation? Failing to realize that the solution to my conundrum, just like Job's, just like Ahaz, is not asking for a change of circumstance, a change of situation, but a change of meaning of that situation, a change of meaning that circumstance. And that change of meaning simply is getting to the point where you believe the sign of God that says, Emmanuel, God is with us. God is with you. God is with me. And when you believe that God is with you, whatever you are going through, whatever circumstance you are facing, whatever challenge you are going through, whatever final you have to deal with, it makes no difference because everything changes when God is with you. So until the next time, this is Pastor Tello reminding you that thoughts do change lives.